Morant with a running start. Elevate! Oh, it dunks! Oh, my goodness!
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone! Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it! A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant! He hit it! John Morant! Insanity!
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. Ahead of next week's training camp on Friday, the Grizzlies released an injury update regarding several key players. And while some of it was good news, the headline is yet another difficult injury blow for Brandon Clarke, another blow for the already thin front court. So Brandon Clarke is going to be hurt. He's going to miss some time. You add that to the already known absences of Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zach Edey, and, well, all of this is far from ideal. So on today's brief episode, I'm going to go over all of the injury updates covering Brandon Clarke and Cedric Coward and Zach Edey and Jaren Jackson Jr. and what it should mean for the actual games missed, what it's going to mean for the rotation. Before I do, I just want to invite you to come play fantasy basketball with me and other Grits and Grinds listeners over at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. I host a few different fantasy leagues. We have regular head-to-head fantasy leagues and also a ridiculous negative fantasy league that is huge and a bunch of fun. Last year, there were 40 teams in this fantasy league that rewards missed shots and bad stats. Dylan Brooks is usually the first overall pick each season. So if you want to play fantasy basketball with me and also join the listener Slack, you know how Twitter stinks now and Blue Sky hasn't really totally caught on? Well, you can join the Grits and Grinds listener Slack and talk Grizzlies in there in a safe and positive community. No riffraff, only nice Grizzlies fans. Also, if you join Patreon, you support the creation of this show. So patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right, now let's get to the injury news. Let's start with the best news that was contained in this injury update. Cedric Coward is, quote, expected to be a full participant in training camp following the completion of rehabilitation of a left shoulder injury that was sustained in November 2024, end quote. So it's a full go for lottery pick Cedric Coward. That is, of course, exciting news. We will get to see clips of him at training camp. He should be, fingers crossed, a full go for the first preseason game that happens in a little bit more than a week. He's going to be available, we think, at the team's open practice on October 4th at FedEx Forum. By the way, while I am thrilled the Grizzlies are holding training camp very close to my house at Belmont University in Nashville, I don't love how they're doing Media Day in Memphis and the open practice in Memphis. I mean, I get it. It makes complete and total sense. I also remember when they had an open practice in Nashville and how much fun that was for me and convenient for me. But anyways, the great news of this injury update is Cedric Coward is totally healthy and ready to play. The updates regarding Zach Edey and Jaren Jackson Jr., I would say, are mostly on the side of good news. These were welcomed updates. We got clarification on the timelines of their recovery from their surgeries. Also, by the way, while the news was bad for Brandon Clarke, this injury reporting, while we don't want any injury news to come out, actually good job by the Grizzlies giving us some very clear updates for what's going on. I appreciate the clarity. There's nothing being shrouded in secrecy about these injury updates. They're giving us the timelines for multiple players where the recovery paths weren't completely known. So I appreciate that. But the updates on Zach and Jaren. Zach is ramping up and expected to return to play in 6 to 9 weeks. This is in line with what was known, and frankly, it seems to be on the positive side of things. There was a lot of hand-wringing about his surgery, and I certainly participated in it, where we're saying things like, oh, is Zach going to be out until Christmas? Is he going to miss 30 games? And, well, this update including the specific language, quote, expected to return to play, end quote, that seems positive to me. If Zach is only out the next 6 weeks, specific to the date of this press release, that means Zach would miss the first 9 games of the year. He'd be available around November 7th. If he misses the entire 9 weeks mentioned in this report, well, that takes us to November 28th, meaning Zach would miss the first 20 games. None of this is great, but this is in line with what we knew and what we expected, and it is much better than bad scenarios, which previously seemed plausible. So mostly okay to positive news that Zach is going to miss, 10 to 20 games to start the year. That's about what we were expecting. It's not as bad as some of us feared. The report on Jaren has similar wording, with a return to play expected in 4 to 6 weeks. That 4 weeks, based on the date of the injury press release, the injury report, the medical update, that puts him very close to returning for opening night, which is October 22nd, when the Grizzlies host the Pelicans. By the way, that's a watch party in Nashville. If you're one of the local listeners, we will be back with our partners, Nobles East, for a watch party in Nashville. Grizzlies Pelicans. Jaren could be available. Now, technically, that 4 weeks takes him past opening night, meaning if he specifically missed exactly 4 weeks, 28 days from the date of the press release, he would miss the first game but be available for the second game. Remember, the Grizzlies have 3 home games to start the year, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. I think you can be optimistic that maybe Jaren comes back and plays in one of those games. Now, he's not going to play in all 3 of them. Even if you think there is a chance he plays on opening night, I doubt he plays the back-to-back, the Friday, Saturday back-to-back that follows it up. But this seems okay. And again, in line with what we were hoping, that Jaren might be back for opening night. Now, if he is in fact out for the entire 6 weeks, that would mean he misses the first 10 games of the year. And of course, Jaren being out is compounded with Zach also being out. So even if we get like medium results, if we average these out, we're like, Zach is out 7.5 weeks instead of 6 to 9, or Jaren's out 5 weeks instead of 4 to 6. Even still, that would mean being without both of your starting front court players for the first 5 games. And if Jaren does in fact miss 6 weeks, that means that you wouldn't have either of your starting front court bigs for the first 10 games of the year. All of that's bad. Also, all of that was already known, sort of, or possibly expected. Every bit of content I released in the past couple months has been talking about how we're not going to have Jaren and Zach to open the year. Now, here's where things get worse. This is the new turn, the new twist. The Brandon Clarke injury news. This unexpected and bad and sad news about Brandon Clarke. He is apparently fully healed from the PCL sprain that ended his season last year, as I read off the press release. But now he has right knee synovitis and needs a procedure, which means surgery, and there is no timetable provided in the Grizzlies medical update. However, Shams Charania, he states that Brandon will be reevaluated in 6 weeks, according to a source. Now, that does not say Brandon Clarke is expected to return to play in 6 weeks. He will be reevaluated in 6 weeks. So that's another big setback for Brandon. It is very tough, I feel, for him and, of course, for Grizzlies fans. We were thrown off the scent. I was personally thrown off the scent about his injury status because 9 days ago, on his 29th birthday, Brandon said at a PR event that he was ramping up and going to be ready for game 1 or day 1. The exact quote. We thought Brandon was fully healthy, going to be available for the season opener, and that was a big boost because of Zach and Jaren's status. But now he's not available, and we don't know when he's going to be available, and he is an oft-injured big man. He has not caught a break since his Achilles tear a few years ago. Also, he did have medical red flags about him That is why the Grizzlies got him so late in the draft that season. Some teams were scared off by his medical reports, is my memory. So now Brandon not being there hurts the Grizzlies in the short term. Also long term, I do not feel like he is a player you can rely on to be there. When you're thinking about building your squad, I don't think you can pencil in Brandon for being available and for helping you out. He did end up playing 64 games last year before the PCL injury. You may remember that his dunks were way down last year from his pre-Achilles injury. However, his field goal percentage numbers were still very, very good. His finishing close to the rim was actually up a little bit. He converted 80% of his field goal attempts from 0 to 3 feet from the basket, which is frankly an astoundingly good number. But also last year, his points was down. His points per possession way down, tied for the lowest in his career. His on-off impact numbers, still incredible. I love Brandon Clarke. Very sad about him being injured. But because of this latest setback and him being 29, his availability is never going to be assured. And he still has 2 years and $25 million left on his contract. And while parting with Brandon, I think would be painful, it might be something you have to try to look to do. That matching salary of his could be incredibly useful. You could bring back a player making up to $20 million a season in a straight up trade with Brandon's money. You're pretty far under the luxury tax line. So you could send out Brandon and bring back a guy making more than him. Unfortunately, in any trade scenarios, Brandon Clarke is going to be viewed as a negative asset. So you probably have to attach something to unload him and then attach something else to bring in a player of value. So all of this is bad news for Brandon, bad news for the Grizzlies. And when you look at the rotation, huge question marks for what the lineup could look like. Let's say Jaren misses the first game. Say Jaren misses the first 5 games. If there's no Zach Edey, no Jaren Jackson Jr., no Brandon Clarke, well, what do you do exactly? I've been assuming for a little bit that like Jock Landale has a really good chance at starting any games that Jaren and Zach both miss. When Brandon Clarke was hopefully going to play, I was like, well, you could start, Brandon and Santi, the 4-5, but, it would be very reasonable to guess that Jock Landale gets that opportunity. With no Brandon now, it seems, okay, they're going to start Jock Landale. But still, how do you fill the 96 available minutes in the front court? 48 minutes at power forward, 48 minutes at center. How do you possibly fill those things with the players on your roster who are hopefully going to be available? If we know Jaren, Zach, and Brandon aren't, how do we fill these minutes? Well, Santi, of course, is going to start and going to play a lot of minutes. What's a lot of minutes? Let's say like 36 minutes, which is high for any Grizzlies player, but it's going to be needed. So let's say Santi plays 36 minutes, starts, plays a full load of a regular NBA rotation, 36 minutes. That leaves 60. Let's say Jock Landale plays 25 to 30. Jock played more than 24 minutes in a game once last year. He started 3 games for the Rockets last year. They lost them all. He played more than 24 minutes one time. The previous season, Jock Landale started 3 times. The Rockets won all 3 of those games, so good stuff there. He played 8 games, more than 24 minutes for the Rockets. I feel like even if he starts, 25 minutes for Jock feels kind of right. So that still leaves 35 minutes to fill in your front court. Who are your bench guys who are going to play some of those minutes? I would bet Omax Prosper gets a big opportunity here. I think Omax is almost assured of getting some minutes in games that Jaren and Zach and Brandon miss. If you've been taking a vacation all summer from Grits and Grinds episodes and Grizzlies news, the Grizzlies signed Omax Prosper to a 2-way spot. Omax is a legitimate power forward, which is not something you can say about basically anybody else on the roster. He's a legitimate power forward. He is a plus rebounder, as far as I can tell. His finishing and shooting is kind of terrible. He might be quite bad, but I think he's going to get a shot. Let's say Omax plays 20 minutes, 15 minutes. I also would bet on PJ Hall, two-way guy, largely unproven. Maybe the only guy on the roster who can be a backup center. I mean, Santi's going to play small ball 5 if Jaren's out. Like, Santi's going to play some small ball 5. Let's say Omax plays 15. I'm going to guess there's going to be small ball, of course. Let's say any wing. I'm talking GG Jackson or Jalen Wells or somebody else plays 10 to 15 minutes. That almost gets us there. So, like, let's say PJ Hall 10 minutes, backup center. We're saying Omax plays 15 minutes. And then you get small ball, Jalen Wells, Vince Williams, John Conchar, somebody playing the 4 alongside Jock at the 5 or Santi at the 5. And that's going to fill your minutes up. So, again, to recap, if everybody is healthy besides these 3 bigs that we're talking about with his injury report, let's say Santi 36 minutes, Jock Landale 25 minutes, Omax Prosper 15 minutes, PJ Hall 10 minutes, and then any other wing to fill out the final 10, 15 minutes. That, frankly, it's a little bit bleak. It's not ideal. However, I would like to reemphasize there's a non-zero chance Jaren misses no games. He could possibly come back opening night, but it is not ideal for this front court. It's not an ideal way to kick off the season. Again, those first 5 games, you're at home against the Pelicans. You're at home against the Heat, who won't have Tyler Hero. At home against the Pacers. Then you're on the road for the Warriors and Suns. Your 6th game, you're back home on Halloween for a NBA Cup matchup against the Lakers. It's going to be challenging. The opportunities are there. I think the biggest opportunity is for Omax Prosper, as he is a clear front court guy with Santi and Jock and Omax and PJ being the only real, I'd call them real bigs on the roster. Huge opportunity for Omax. Of course, it's a big opportunity for GG Jackson. This is a crucial season for GG Jackson. He has the athleticism and size where he could play power forward. And anytime 3 guys ahead of you on the depth chart are unavailable, yeah, absolutely huge opportunity for GG Jackson to seize some playing time. If he doesn't get the playing time then, I'm not very optimistic about GG Jackson sticking around very long on the Grizzlies. So, not the news we wanted, of course, for Brandon. We wish him the best. We wish him a speedy and complete recovery. But now the Grizzlies are going to be even more shorthanded than we thought they were going to be. And we already knew they were going to be very shorthanded in the front court as the season begins. So that is a challenge for Tomas Isolo and his coaching staff. That's a challenge they're going to work on, I guess, in training camp, which, of course, kicks off in just a few days. And that is the last update. Again, days to look forward to. Grizzlies Media Day is this Monday. So we're going to hear from Zach Kleiman and Isolo and a lot of the players on Monday. There will be reports about that. And then training camp begins Tuesday in Nashville. I'll be reporting from there. So make sure you are subscribed on YouTube, on whatever podcast app you like to use. Give me a review if you don't mind. Also, anyways, if you want to support this show, you want to play fantasy basketball, you want to join the very special Grits and Grinds listener Slack, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. If you hear this on Saturday, keep an eye out for me at the Nashville soccer game tonight. The Grizzlies Caravan will be in Nashville. Come try to find me before the game. Maybe I'll give you a Vince Williams Jr. rookie card. Anyways, hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.